so many people care about this, Steve, but they're not sure how passionately to weigh in. A lot of people are listening to this conversation right now who totally agree with every single thing they've heard.
There's only so much money to go around. The American worker has not had a raise, inflation adjusted, in like 40 years.
You mentioned earlier that flannel is very difficult to make, and your book is called American Flannel. Yeah. And I know you explain it in the book, but can you give our listeners a little primer as to why it's so difficult to make?
Sure. So Bayard was trying to make a yarn-dyed flannel shirt. What Mike has on is a yarn-dyed flannel shirt. A cheap, fast fashion brand will just take a bolt of fabric and they will, in effect, stamp a plaid pattern onto that shirt.
Right.
But the way Bayard wanted to do it, your grandfather's flannel shirt was yarn-dyed, and that means that every individual yarn is dyed a different color. And the interweaving of those different varied colored yarns is what creates the plaid pattern. So you have to have a dyer to dye that yarn. You have to have somebody warp it, which means laying out all those dyed yarns, thousands of them, on a warp beam. And then that gets transferred to a loom. Then you have to have it woven with the crossways pattern, the way that a loom weaves things. Then after that, you have to have it finished, and you have to have it napped. And napping is the process of taking those fibers and kind of roughing them up and raising them a little bit to get the softness, the trademark softness of a flannel shirt. And all of those processes are incredibly difficult. I mean, you need an artist's eye to color match in the dyeing. You need an engineer's ability to warp, to lay that pattern out. It's like taking a 3D puzzle piece. If Mike had a stray red yarn going through one of those white squares, his shirt would be screwed up. So it has to be perfect. And then the napping, if it was napped too rough, you would break those threads. If it wasn't napped sufficiently, it would come out rough as sandpaper. And so you need all of those things to make a flannel shirt. And that's why it's so difficult. And Bayard and this guy, James McKinnon, who was like his quarterback on that project, they ran into a serious problem when they got to the napping, and they weren't sure they were going to be able to make that shirt because it was coming out like hotel curtains. I mean, it just was not coming out like a flannel shirt.
Well, I can tell you they succeeded because that shirt is incredibly soft. It's softer than any other garment I've felt since I was a kid.
Yeah, that's the idea, that pajama feel, that comfortable. Yeah, totally. That's what makes flannel. And the more Mike wears that shirt, the softer it will be and the more worn in, and it'll be like Old Faithful.
Well, I've had it on for 2 weeks straight now, so it's really
that's all you wear.
It's really something. That's all I wear. And one other thing. Oh yeah, we want to use cotton grown right down the street. We want to control that too, right?
Yeah.
We want to make deals with people who are growing cotton. We want to hire people in this zip code, and then we want to put every ounce of energy we have into supporting that effort. And if we can't get the flannel shirt right? I made this point a couple of weeks ago. I did a story on the toothpick, which you would love, by the way. There's a book by Henry Petrosky called Toothpick. And it just looks at, the species relationship with picking our teeth, but the very unique relationship here in this country and how strong Maine was the toothpick capital of the world and how billions of pieces were being made. And we did it all. I mean, we grew the white birch. We did everything. And of course, it's all gone now. But the same basic question is posed. If we can't make a flannel shirt, if we can't make a toothpick,
right.
what hope Detroit, right?
Right.
Right. At what point does somebody like you, or maybe somebody has to grab our country by the metaphorical lapels and shake and say, look, 2% are left.
Yeah.
2%.
We have to encourage growth, so that the 2%, grows from there. I mean, I keep saying, and Bayard has said this too, if some of these large brands would bring not all their production back, but some of their production back, you could have
5%.
Right, exactly. You could have that, that factory that would make the Wrangler jeans would know that they had orders for those Wrangler jeans. And, it's like this idea of competing where prices just get lower and lower and lower and lower and quality gets stripped out and stripped out. Like, it's not sustainable. It is not sustainable environmentally. It's not sustainable economically. It makes for bad decision making and bad products. I mean, I wanted to understand the people that were left, to your point, and figure out like why. And someone like Gina grew up in it. She has all this rich family history. Someone like Bayard, he was on Wall Street. I mean, he quit Wall Street. Like, he had a path in front of him. Bayard is from one of the oldest families in America, the Winthrops.
Fell off the Mayflower.
Exactly. Right. That's right. And he had a path in front of him to be that country club Wall Street guy and live in Greenwich, Connecticut, where he grew up. And he made a different choice in his life, and that was interesting to me too. It showed character there to make that kind of choice. And, I wanted to also like honor these people and celebrate them in a way because they're doing things the hard way.
So many people care about this, Steve, but they're not sure how passionately to weigh in, because the uncomfortable truth is that a lot of people are listening to this conversation right now who totally agree with every single thing they've heard. But when it comes right down to it, they can't afford to pay for the flannel shirt I'm wearing. And when it's sitting next to other flannel shirts that maybe don't feel quite as soft and maybe don't look, this is not a big conversation for them. They have no choice, right?
Yes, that's right. It's like you have to reframe it a little bit. I mean, yes, okay, the Red Wing boots are probably 3 times as expensive as the work boots you're going to get in a Walmart or some other place.
Wolverines too.
Yeah, but they're going to last you. They may last you 3 times or longer than that. And Red Wing also has a program where you can send those boots in and have them redone and have them last even longer. Rancourt has the same program. And it's about sort of making that decision of like, okay, I know these are expensive, these are a stretch, but in the long run, I'm not going to throw them out. They're built to last. They're durable. They're high quality. They're not going to wear out on me. It's tricky, but also, I also hope we get to a point where that flannel shirt comes down in price a little bit. If more people make and you get a little more economies of scale, then this stuff doesn't seem so boutique-y or just geared to people with disposable income. There's something funny in reporting this book. There's something about clothing where the average American, and I include myself in this, like sometimes balks at paying a lot for clothing. Like we all, like you see like the big Ford truck, and that it's like a $70,000 Ford truck. You know what I mean? And you see the dude, the construction dude, driving that truck, and the truck payment's probably like $800 or $1,000 a month. But like you show him a $60 flannel shirt and a $30 flannel shirt, he's going for the $30 flannel shirt. It's just like a lot of people have made this trade-off. There's only so much money to go around. The American worker has not had a raise, inflation adjusted, in like 40 years. So I don't fault the American consumer at all. And when there's only so much to go around, you have to make choices. And some people make the choice if they have disposable income for the truck and maybe a vacation once a year, and they'll sort of cheap out on clothing. So I understand those kinds of trade-offs, but I would just argue that, okay, every time I buy a pair of Zaccano socks, I'm supporting Gina, I'm supporting the workers in that factory, I'm supporting those workers' families, I'm supporting that community. It's a tangible thing. When I spend money on fast fashion at H&M, I have no idea where that money's going.
I was struck by it when you said earlier that you were the first in your family to go to college. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's great. But I also think it's unique, maybe not utterly unique, but I don't know who's listening to this exactly, right? 500,000 people are listening to this sentence, and I'm not even sure how it's going to end. Here I have already begun it. But some people are going to need to be encouraged to pursue a university experience, and some people don't. Some people need to be encouraged not to take on all that debt and to master a skill that's in demand. I just don't know which is which. But that article you talked about this morning is important. And, it's too early for a victory lap, but I've been at this 16 years, and something tells me you're going to write another book like this, because once you become afflicted with this, it's all you see. It's all you see,
Yeah.
And whether it's a toothpick or a flannel shirt or a pair of socks or a decent pair of shoes, right? Please keep doing what you're doing. It's, the best path for the most people can't be the most expensive path. But the path that we're on right now, to elevate that 2% and to tell the stories of these people, that's for sale. So keep at it, man.
Thank you.
American Flannel is the book. The subtitle's terrific. How a band of entrepreneurs are bringing the art and business of making clothes back home. Did you think about saying America there, or did you go, no, home?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't. It's those things get worked over to death, and America is you can't do it.
Yeah, I get it. It's a great book. Buy it wherever you buy your books. Chuck, did I miss anything?
No, that's it. And you were right. It's Shop Class as Soulcraft by Matthew Crawford.
Yeah, there you go.
The book that you're referring to.
I'm typically 90% on these kind of things.
I just don't mention the other 10%. I don't bring it up. So,
being wrong publicly 10% of the time is not a disaster. But if you're making underpants, for instance, and you want them, like you wear them, and it's like, how much crap do you want in them, right? Like, I've only got 10%, so yeah, that's not enough to put them back on for a second day, right? You in some areas, folks, you want to be 100%, but not in podcasting.
And on that happy note,
thanks again, Stephen. It's terrific. Don't hang up. We got to make sure you're uploaded. As for the rest of you, we'll talk to you next week.